Hi, I'm Patricia Greenberg. My guest today is Judge Dominick Yezzo. He's a wounded Vietnam veteran, a retired administrative law judge, a lawyer, an author, a professor, a father, a grandfather, and a seasoned public speaker who continues to work tirelessly as an advocate for veterans' rights. Welcome, Judge Yezzo. May I call you Dominick?
Yeah, please do. And my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
I sought you out because I feel very strongly about continuing to tell the stories about the Vietnam War, the men and women who served there, and more importantly, I really want to dispel the myths and misconceptions that people have about the people who served there. Still, it's 60 years later, and we still have people really not realizing what happened there, what people went through. I was a little kid at the time. I knew it was going on, but I didn't have a sense of it. And I really feel that you and others who served can tell us the accurate history. I don't know that we've ever gotten an accurate history in the public. So let's start from the beginning.
Well,
You
I,
share your story with me.
I want to, as you say, you sought me out. I want to let you know that I responded to you because you communicate sincerity, and I'm happy to be on your show.
Thank you.
The question that you ask is enormous. I think the story has been told but not heard. And I do believe that the men and women who suffer from the results of a war are the men and women in your family, even though you were a little kid, as you say, you survived that war and all wars in many ways that people aren't conscious of. We were the front liners. We were the persons who responded to the call. We were 18, 19, maybe 20, and we did what we were asked to do. And the fragrance, the stamp, the look of us and all veterans is indelible. It never goes away. One of the reasons why veterans can chat with each other and are unlikely to be able to communicate to someone who doesn't get it, who wasn't there. It's visceral, not intelligent. It's intrinsic rather than logical. It's chaos that you have to continue to make sense out of, that you have to continue to make order from. And many, many, many years later, the the um, the 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 horror of it all is that it's still here. There have been several wars since my war. And what that allows me to do as a veteran, and what it allows all veterans to do, but most of us are silent unless we're together, um, is to look back as well as look ahead. And so I'd like to say to you, in your wonderful, sincere inquiry about me and us, is that all war is the same. It's all wrong. Um, under certain circumstances, we fight for our house, of course. We fight for our family, of course. We protect what we have, of course. We are, after all, we're citizens of a place that we want to protect, enjoy, and continue to honor. However, uh, many times the ideals of what we go to war for are unnecessary. And America is used to it has this beautiful golden residual dust of World War II when it was perfectly purposeful to get that monster, to get Hitler done, and to stop the Asian Japanese world from overtaking the rest of Asia, and to stop Hitler from taking over the rest of the world. In the West, it was awful. It was evil.
Mm.
I'd go today still. Give me a helmet and a baseball bat. I'm off.
Yeah.
I'm off to war for those reasons. But the issue leads me to political, economic, social, personal, and even private answers, too big for the scope of us right now. But the reasons we went and the things that we feel and the things that we carry as veterans in all wars are the same. War is about the destruction of people and property. War is, for those of us who came from a place that understood that life has a sacred base, war is a moral issue, not while you're there, but when you return.
Yeah.
So the things you do for willingly for those who ask us to do them, we do well. We're willing, and we sacrifice and serve, and we wish that our sacrifice and service has purpose. World War II had that purpose. Vietnam, there was a lie. And although we were good soldiers, and although to my mind we won that war, um, um, we had a difficult time returning. We were the embarrassment of America, but not to us, not to us. Every every veteran now is in better shape because of the Vietnam Veterans of America. We have turned the government around to look at who we are. We're an organization of sergeants, not officers. And we are an organization of action, legislative action. And we've done more for veterans than any other group or any other person in the history of the United States of America. We are shoulder to shoulder with Abraham Lincoln.
Dominick, do you attribute that to the way the world was when you got back, that the 60s were about you stating your case, women coming forward and saying, I'm not going to take it anymore, that the communication had changed. You never defied your parents, you never defied the government, you never talked back. That changed in the 60s. So do you feel that that empowered you when you got back to say something?
It's an enormous question. Let me.
I know I give you these heavy questions. We'll be
No,
here
it's
all
okay.
night.
It's good. I can carry the weight. I
Yeah.
promise. So there's a couple of things going on in your inquiry. One is about the 60s, a decade of turmoil. The music changed
Yeah.
from doo-wop to the Beatles telling us that she loves you. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And they meant it. It was sweet
Mm-hmm.
until the Rolling Stones came along. And our mothers and fathers said, who are they?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
did one, not the other, perhaps.
Yeah.
But there were things going on. The war was questioned, rightfully so. Johnson was in trouble because of the war. He inherited something, and he continued in the lie of what he had inherited. Nonetheless, um, I remember. Let me put myself in perspective here. Why I understand the decisions that
Mm-hmm.
leaders, generals, um, staff, presidents make. I was with the 1st Air Cavalry Division in the G5 Division, which is Civil Affairs and Psychological Operations. Sometimes I would have the opportunity to be in a command bunker with grown men who made decisions about where we marched, what we did, what the incentive was, what the results could be or couldn't be, knowingly life was going to be lost or hurt or damaged. Talking about a body count before it happened.
Oh my God.
No, it's the work of war. It's the work of war. And I saw grown men suffer over those decisions, and I carried that with me. I carried that with me.
All right, I'm going to ask you an even heavier question.
Wait, I have to get to,
Okay, okay,
I have to get to the part about women
okay.
banning their submissions, the banning their women ran New York City. New York City is still run by women who are 32 years old wearing
Yeah.
expensive shoes, and they run everything. They don't get credit for it. I 100%. Then there was a call on the street publicly about, we're not taking this anymore. And it wasn't just women, but it was anyone or any group or any person who came together in twos and threes and then sevens and eights and then thousands, right? Woodstock. I came home the day
Sure.
from Woodstock was on.
Mm.
It was that decision to consciously regard who we are. What are we doing? What do I want? Um, where are we? It was a conscious decision by many people who thought that there was something wrong with the governance, with the order that we relied on for so many years. So it's that rise up of social grace, and I mean grace as a noun. It was a
Mhm.
grace,
Mhm.
not a graceful occupation of things to do in protest, although we tried to do it gracefully, but it
Mm.
was a grace, like divine grace. We have the good fortune to not worry about digging up potatoes in the field so we have enough to eat.
Mhm.
America's fat and rich,
Yep.
and
Yep.
most of us can eat well. And because we can do that, we can lay on our back and look at the stars and say, what is going on there? What what's going on everywhere? How wonderful is that? Not since the Greeks, so many thousands of years ago, have we had that freedom. So that's the origin of the human condition, to ask a question, and still we were obedient to the order.
My question to you is that if you sat in on some of the strategizing that was going on, is it true that certain men were picked to go put in harm's way because they didn't count, whether it was minorities, kids from poor families? This is the argument. They were sent out, and the
You
kids who
Yes, that
handpicked to be
question.
protected.
You got it. You have an inquiring mind. Is it true? So here's the military is stunningly structured. I wish the whole world were structured the way the military is. I know that now better than I knew it then. Then I would complain about, why do we have to hurry up and wait?
Mhm, mhm.
I didn't understand the need for such preparation. I do now. Um, but the military knows you, whether they draft you or you join. They know you. They know whether you are a gun carrier, somebody for civil affairs and psychological operations, somebody who is a mortarman, or somebody who might be administrative typist. They know you. They find you. They test you, and they use the results of that to their purpose. Of course they do. And so the wonderful draft of persons, of especially young men, World War II, Vietnam, and it'll happen again. My students at Nassau Community College don't understand that, but I know there are uniforms waiting for them right now, and they could be drafted in a second.
Mhm.
In our draft, they were taking 19,000 a month from New York State
Wow.
alone, a month, right? So they draft you, and they get you, they know you, they find you, and they slot you into a position for the purpose. And the order of that is so, it sounds kind of, if you don't get what I mean by leadership, or by managing a company, or
No, I
by
do. I do. I think it's brilliant, actually, at the expense of the person, probably, but it's,
100%,
yeah,
100%. I wish everything was structured like the military, because it works.
it works, right?
It has to work. And everybody in this unit has to be an expert at what they do. Otherwise, the whole thing would fall apart. Whether the unit is a squad of 7 that's out on a search and destroy, or it's a whole battalion of persons functioning to the greater good of what the purpose of this thing is. Imagine if it was there set up for goodness.
Sure.
Imagine that. It's so beautifully purposeful. So I think they found they found a treasure in people like me who were born in East Harlem. I can tell you that the my unit was like any poor neighborhood. And the poor neighborhood could be in Mississippi in a rural place. It
Mhm.
was that guy with a hayseed out of his mouth who knew how to use a shotgun and loved it. And it was kids around the block for me, black and Spanish and white and Italian American like me, who came from a neighborhood, and there were other kids from California and Chicago and the middle of Idaho. That's what the war looked like. And we did a good job.
How did you all mingle together? How did you feel side by side with a kid from Mississippi, a kid from California? Did the experience unify you, or
It's
was
the same
there?
way I feel with you. I feel
Yeah,
comfortable with you.
yeah,
The experience was different at different levels. So if you're out on the line or in an LZ or in a place that's closer to where the real fighting is, right? Uh, there's a different kind of brotherhood than there might be in one of the big bases that could be like Cam Bay, or one of the major bases like that was in Saigon, Long Bin, those big, big, big bases, right? But most of us were spread out across the country on smaller, what we called bases, landing zones, LZs, or camps. Like I was in Camp Evans, and we worked out of an LZ called LZ Nancy. We could receive like C-127s and C-130 cargo on the base, but we couldn't do that on the LZ. That was all helicopter stuff. So we were all if I got a package from, and I mentioned that cargo because if I got a package from home, everybody ate it.
yeah,
We eat pepperoni and a poorly packaged mozzarella, but
yeah, yeah,
and it was ours, right? And
yeah,
then I ate coconut cream cake too from Johnny's mother who
yeah,
sent that, and it came a mess, but we had our hands in there, all of
yeah,
us,
yeah.
and we drank beers. And we asked for beers. They would send a whole uh, a packet on the bottom of a helicopter, a pallet of Carling Black Label beer. It was warm, but we had beer. We had
So
the best.
listen, that's fascinating to me that you're in this situation. You're far from home, and I'm going to be presumptuous and assume you didn't have the greatest showers, you didn't have the greatest beds. You know, you're relegated to army clothing. You're not talking about the comforts of home, and then you're having the stuff brought in. It wasn't intercepted. The enemy wasn't. I'm going to steal their thing.
Oh
How
no,
did that
no,
go so
no.
smoothly?
No,
That's
it wasn't. No, it wasn't that kind of war. No, I'm telling you, the military's got it. Got it. And no, I mean, it's not that the plane sometimes didn't get hit and
yeah.
or was gone and get blown up, because if they hit it, it was done. But on a regular and consistent basis, we own it, man. We got it. It's like no matter where we were, the mail would come.
It's amazing.
No matter where we were, we had oranges that were probably picked 5 days ago,
Wow.
better than the store. We had steaks. I mean, we ruined them because there was not couldn't cook them properly. We didn't make two kind of grill and fire them up, but we had clothing and weapons and boots. And you get a rip, you get a new one.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you have like a little window you can go to and say, I need a new
No, no,
pair
it's
of
not
boots?
like that in where I was, but it's certainly in Long Beach and Cameron Bay and places like that, big bases, and Da Nang, big bases. Stuff came in ships. The first thing I noticed when I arrived in Vietnam at Cam Bay was it was a port, and it reminded me of Bayonne, New Jersey. There were containers, Connex containers. I saw boats there, like pleasure boats, Boston whalers,
You're
piled
kidding.
up. There were tons of them. I
Wow.
saw so much that it looked like that ugly place in New Jersey that you drive by and you can't wait to get past, that Bayonne
Yep.
bridge
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
It was that, and there's so much coming in, clothing and supplies and food, and Levi was making uniforms, and Chrysler was making tanks, and Sikorsky made the helicopters. We were cranking the stuff. War is a big deal.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's big business.
Big, big business.
Dominic, I want to switch over to you arrived there. We had full disclosure to my audience. Dominic and I, of course, had a pre-interview discussion. So I did ask a few things. You arrived there in 1968, and you were wounded almost immediately. Talk to us about that.
Um, I was wounded with what's known as friendly fire, and so the soldier next to me mishandled his grenade, and I got hit with shrapnel from that grenade, and I was hurt. I was hurt badly, and medevaced by the Marines. By the way, the Marines came to get me. I'll never, ever, ever, ever forget a Marine because they truly live with what I believe in. You never leave anyone behind, ever.
Mhm.
They picked up the call and came to get me. I was the Army. They came to get me. They took me to a medevac station in the field, like one of those mass stations.
Mhm.
And then the doctor there operated on me. Couldn't get the shrapnel out, and then I was then airlifted by the Marines to the hospital ship, which was in the Gulf of Tonkin, where I convalesced for a month. Now, here, so many things. This question is very difficult for me because it's emotional. The guy next to me was distraught. I'd never seen any condition of a body like that. His head was literally blown off. And I was spouting blood, and I was consumed with the power of something hitting you like that. Is like boom, and it owns you. It threw my rifle away, and I spun, um, and I had like you have no control over yourself. It owned you. It
Yeah.
owned you.
Yeah.
And I felt the heat, and it felt like a house landed on me. It wasn't a pain like you might get in this moment, in this place. The whole side of my body was hit. Um, Here's the big thing. I thought bad things happened to other people. So when I got drafted and went to war, I didn't think anything was going to happen to me. That happens to other people. I didn't get that. I didn't get it. I didn't even think the war was, I thought it was kind of wild and kind of exciting up until that point when I got hit. It took that for me to realize that they're trying to waste me. I like this is life and death. How do you understand that suddenly it was the
Hmm.
the chief tension in my life became life and death. We don't live like that.
No.
Only people in terrible neighborhoods or in terrible places in the world, or people who risk their lives at some craziness, um, understand life and death. The risk is greater than I had imagined. And the risk taught me it wasn't my risk, it was their risk. They risked me.
Right.
And I don't know if I agreed with the waste of life that way. It was
So did you
unnecessary.
did you feel like a pawn on a chessboard? Like what how did
I
that
didn't play
totally
chess
altered
yet.
your,
I didn't play chess yet, but
yeah.
I did feel like life, the things that were sacred in me, like life has a sacred base. I didn't know that, but of course that's in my gut. Um, that's what revolved in me. And the horror of that fellow, and I remember his name, I remember who he was, and the guilt of him going and not me. And I remember I said, come on, come on, come on. We were, and I remember that. And what if I didn't say, come on? What it's all so wrong. And your life becomes so unspecial. It's anyone. It's Dominick Yezzo, US 527-56358. A positive Catholic. It's your dog tag, which
Right.
they stuck his in his mouth and the other one in his boot because his mouth is gone, but they stuck it in his boot. And that's what they do with a dog tag. They put it in your mouth or put it in your boot so they can identify you. And the whole the I still can't comfortably understand that the life is meaningless seemingly insignificant in and of that life, but in the greater picture, it's a necessary. And that greater picture, then I started not to buy into any longer. I would wonder what the decisions were, who's making these decisions, and what about his mother, and his girlfriend, and his whatever, and the way that his brother helped him punch a baseball glove out, whatever. What is that? What for? And then the big questions come from that wounding. I was no longer in this wild kind of like pushed through. Like it looked, the first fights I saw were crazy. In your weapon, every fifth round is a tracer, every 10th round in some is a tracer. And that means that if you fire at night, you're going to see like a straight line, it'll come out like that. Well, when I first saw that first firefight, was like crazy. It was like 4th of July, but nobody knew how to do it. It was crazy. The night was lit up. I was goofed. I was like, whoa, I was on it. I was in it. I was doing it. And I felt sick to my stomach. I realized after I got hit and so close to someone else whose life was sacrificed. I became a political thinker. I started to read, and I was on the hospital ship, and I was reading.
Okay, so I would now you're totally transformed from this experience, not overnight, in a split second. You get hit, you realize almost immediately the reality of this. And again, I'd asked you this before, and we talked about we're going to discuss this. Why didn't you get sent home? That is enough of an injury to not. Why did they make you stay the entire year? That's stunning to me.
You are something else. Here's what happened. So I'm medevac, right? And I fly in, Marines fly me in. It's in the middle of the night. There's like an aid station in the jungle or wherever. I don't even know where it was. I had gotten hit with morphine. I was goofed. They hit me twice because I was pumping.
Right.
And they didn't know whether I was going to choke. They couldn't tell where the shrapnel was, right? And I was spouting blood. So they're beautiful. They come off there. They're like the best EMTs in the world. And they do this 10 times a day, right? Bang, bang. So I'm in the helicopter. And before I got in the helicopter, I probably, somebody said to me, can you breathe? And I said, what's wrong with my throat? I don't know what I was saying, right?
Yeah.
And they said, hit him. They hit me with morphine. They took that needle out, hit me in the leg. And then I kept saying, what are you doing? I don't know what I was doing, right? I don't know what I was saying. And then somebody else hit me. I got hit twice, right? And then they put me in that helicopter. They brace you in. I'm in a good place. I remember being in a womb. I remember I never felt like that before in my life, ever. And they land, I get out of the chopper, they bring the stretcher in, and there's a couple of helicopters coming in. So they take you by priority, just like an emergency room.
Right.
Except you're on a dirt floor with a light bulb, right? In a tent, right? And I was taken in because I was spouting. And I remember the doctor was he was a captain, and he looked at me, he said something, and I remember him going. He looked up. He said, "Who hit this kid with morphine?" He's going, "Who are you? Who hit this kid with?" He's yelling, "Who hit this kid with morphine?" Because I was goofed. I was out, right? So here's what I'm getting. So I'm not thinking yet of what the matter is. I don't know where I am. I don't know what's up.
Right.
I don't even know where I am on Earth.
Right.
Right. I get medevac the next morning by the Marines again, because the Marines took me to their base, right? Their medevac center. And then I get medevac out to the hospital ship, this big gleaming white ship in the ocean in the Gulf of Tonkin. It looks like a cruise ship. Right?
How far out from the shore were you? Like, why was that safe to be there? Was it very far south, or I'm curious?
Yeah, because the Seventh Fleet was all around. So
Oh, okay. All right. So it was
nobody
protected.
wasn't messing with
Mm,
that, right?
yeah.
So they land you there, and then I'm on the stretcher. They take me in, and I'm being placed, and I'm ambulatory. I heard that word, and they put me in the top rank, and I'm on a high rack, right? So top rank, I can move, I can get around, and I'm on a top rack. And the whole ship, this is awful. That ship was full of men who were destroyed.
Oh,
Who you Our war was vascular. We got hit with shrapnel and bullets and things that spread our flesh. This war now, these wars are orthopedic. Our guys are coming back without legs and
no
arms
legs, right.
because of all the explosions. But we got shot, and so do they. I don't mean it's only vascular, but mostly vascular. So there's a lot of chop meat in our war. This war is as equal, maybe worse, because there's a lot of lost limbs, they're broken bodies,
And
right?
this has to do with the weapons that are chosen, the method in which to destroy the enemy. It's a specific type of
Yeah,
weaponry.
exactly. Well, the say this, so like the North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong and that war had AK-47s, right? The difference with those was a wooden stock and it had that banana clip, which had more rounds than we had. We had efficient guns, the M16. However, the bullet when it's fired, when it's released, is spun. It's spinning, and it comes out of there with great velocity. When it hits, it's designed to spread out.
Huh.
So it could hit you in your shoulder, in the soft tissue of your shoulder, and then it blows out your back. That's the design of it. That's what weapons are. It's about the destruction of people and property. So I get on the ship and I see all of this, and I can't. I don't. Whoa! I need a priest. I gotta. Can I call my mother? Something's wrong here. Something is wrong. It's like a bloodbath.
Mhm.
And all those nurses were tending us with everything they had. Every doctor sweating, doing. It was a hospital emergency room floating, right? So I'm here for a month. One of the things that happened to me is that on the bottom rack was a guy in a stretcher that they could turn over. His name was Billy De Niro, and I knew him from when I was a child. And I was climbing up to get on my bunk now and again, feeling all of the sorrow for myself. And I could walk around the deck and go to the mess hall with bandages on and slowly. And I was already goofed up because of the medicine. And he said, Yezzo, Yezzo. He's calling me, and I couldn't, but he was hit. And he was hit like me with friendly fire, but in his spine. And he couldn't move. He was absolutely paralyzed from the shoulders down. Now, I don't know how to emphasize this. That's the war. So
Yeah.
the politics then comes, the concrete specifics of war are no longer an idea. This is what war is. This is what the Romans did to the Carthaginians. This is what everybody does to everybody else in war. This is not right. Something's wrong here. Why? 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 So then I pick up a book or two. There's a library there and I can move around. So I started to read and I started to read. I started to read. I remember they had Time and Newsweek magazines. And I started to read. I picked up a book by a guy named Bernard Hall, who was a photojournalist, and he wrote this book about the French and then the Americans. And then I picked up a book by Ho Chi Minh, the president of North Vietnam. And I picked up a book that was written by the Democratic Party in the United States of America, a conglomerate of thought. And I started to read these books and I started to think, and I was already, I wanted to, what are my parents? I was scared.
Yeah.
There's
Of
no phone there.
course. course.
What do my parents get a telegram, wounded in action, uh, safe aboard the hospital, whatever the telegram read. And how are they doing? What are my brothers, how are my brothers getting through their classes at school? I was worried about everybody. But then
Why weren't you allowed to contact your parents?
we didn't have, there's no fun. You couldn't do that in
But
the
you
war.
couldn't send a telex or a message or anything?
No, 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 because there are too many of us. I could send a letter and the letter, no stamp, and the letter would get there. They'd sometimes get 5 letters in a row. Um, no, but it wasn't, the technology wasn't like it is
But
now.
you could write from the ship. You could send
Oh,
letters.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
did. Yeah, I wrote 100 letters on the
Yeah.
ship. Yeah.
I want to just also mention that Dominick Yezzo has a book, A GI's Vietnam Diary, wonderful. And again, this is what caught my eye when I first reached out to Dominick Yezzo. And we will post this on the page as well, where to get it.
You know what I wanted speaking about books, I wanted to honor your book too.
Thank you. Thank
No,
you.
I respect what you do and how you ask a question very much.
Thank
And
you.
I think the world should know as well about your thoughts and your direction and your
Thank
purpose.
you. Thank you so much. I strive to, as you see, I'm pulling a story out of you because I think we as older adults have so much to say and so much to share. And we are relevant all the way up until the day you die. Everything you have to say, everything you have to do is relevant and important and needs to be shared. And I appreciate that so much, what you're telling me. Dominick, you got back on the base after being on this ship for a long time, and I want to ask you something. Your description in the book, everything about your love, your food, the environment, sex, how you felt about women. It was so hard. I can't believe a young man of your age had that insight and that foresight and the skills to communicate that. So you're with a group of boys, and I guess some girls, the nurses, I know they weren't serving in combat in those days. You're 19, you're 20, maybe even 21. You're filled with, you're at your sexual prime, you're at your intellectual curiosity isn't there when you're 19, 20. You don't give a shit, right? You just want to go. You want to conquer the world. And you're at a physical peak that you will never see again. How did you manage that? I guess from what you're telling me, you go in and you're all, ready to piss and vinegar, as we say, and then you get wounded and you're rethinking it. Where did you put that energy for an entire year?
Well, your question, this question is very, it's abstract, it's big. So it speaks to the human condition through me. Or like, who knows where it came from? I have faith, and I had faith in the things that mattered. One of the things that war does to civilians and to soldiers is it brings out who you are.
Yeah.
If you're a grandmother in your kitchen baking a pie for your family and your house gets shelled, that's going to make you do something that you are. You're going to do something. And everybody does something in war. Everybody is continuing to become, right? To survive, to hold on. I don't know, but I do know that what you are is what uh, is what's revealed in a war.
So if did it bring out the best in some and the worst in others, or somebody who was a vicious, cruel person, it exacerbated that. Somebody who was kind, it brought that out even further.
Well, yes, yes. I think what you are will be known. And remember, these are young men and women, young. So, and we're not yet at the height of our powers. We not even close. And I don't even think all the neurons are yet formed
Well, that's what
properly.
they say. Your
Yeah,
brain is not fully formed until
I
you're
don't think so.
25, right? And
Exactly.
you're making these life and death decisions, and you're a kid, literally.
Yeah, what happens is you become who you are. And so because I was faced with the idea that my life could end now. I could be over. This is it. Tomorrow it could be done. In the next minute, it could be done. Especially the worst was, but for me, was the unknown, the rockets and the mortars. You don't know where they're coming from, and you have no control over it. Scared. I became so afraid of what could come in the nighttime sky that I was crazy with the fear. It makes you wonder, like, how come you never bit an apple the same way before? Say, wow, this is whoa, whoa, where do these apples come from? It makes you do that, and you taste everything. You glorify the senses, what you can see, smell, hear, taste, and touch are alive. They're popping, and you know something. So I returned to my unit wounded, but now I'm a soldier because I get it. I'm a good soldier now because I get it. I get it. And I became keenly aware of everything around me. And I became very, very interested without talking about it or explaining that in people who couldn't be my friends. Of course, they had that thing that they would say, "Yeah, man, let's go get him." And something happened in me. Not that I was a pacifist, because I can remember feeling really, really strong after one of my guys got hit, and the next day we were bombing them, and we were bombing them at close range with 500-pound bombs from those thuds, those Air Force and Navy thuds that we'd call in. And I was going, "Yeah, kill him." I was vengeful. I wanted them to go down. And afterwards, we had to clean up the bodies, and I felt ashamed of myself. I felt awful. How this It's awful. It's what? It's all wrong. It's all
So
wrong.
you didn't stay in kill or be killed mode the whole year? I mean, I'd imagine if that's coming at you at all time and you're on high alert 24 hours a day.
It's like being on the subway in New York City. No, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, it's
No, it's you're vigilant. You become
yeah,
vigilant.
right.
So I'm sensual, and people don't understand that. They think it's a sexual word. It has that too, but I am sensual because of the war. I'm like, I get it. I get it. What a beautiful day it is. And I mean that. I really mean it. It's what a joy to see this unfold, this flower open or whatever, or to taste your pasta. What a big deal this is.
You know, in reading your book, you wrote a very thoughtful account of your observations of those around you while you were in country. You know, your intuition, your gut feelings. You analyzed the behavior of people around you, the Vietnamese as well as the other soldiers. Your emotions come through incredibly in your writing. Were you as intuitive before you went? Was that a gift you were born with, or was that born out of what was going on there?
I don't know, but thank you for the question. Your questions are so deeply rooted. I come from a family of 5 children, Italian immigrant experience. Proud.
Were you born in the United States?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah, my family's from Puglia, from Rutoliano di Bari. So I have the traditional footwork, the foundation of a family, the things that make family work, like respect and order and love, and maybe church. But, depending on my mother or father, you should get a different story from both of them. I went to Catholic school when I was a boy in East Harlem, St. Paul's School, beautiful school. It taught me morality, as well as my family. And so the idea of going to war, it becomes something that's in you. It can only be perfectly assessed by another veteran. You have that. You got something inside you that has the instruction of what they did to us, what they did to all of us, what they did to you, what they did to your family, to your parents. We all survived the war. But the thing about it, it becomes, even though it's indelible, it's like the tattoo on every veteran that they gave to the Jewish people in the war camps. They tattooed you. So we all have that. And everybody, if you just pull up my sleeve, you could see it. But it's not like when I teach my class, I'm teaching this as a Vietnam veteran. It's not like when I was presiding over the cases in court, I'm a Vietnam veteran judge or a veteran judge or a wounded person. I was a judge. I'm a father. It doesn't mean that I'm a veteran father. I'm a father, and I'm also a veteran, you know? And I'm not a victim. I don't feel victimized. Not at all. I don't allow that to happen. And I think the word grace comes back and purpose to me that we began with here. I think that gracefully I try to maintain myself. And I know that because of my experience, I'm more sophisticated about this, that, and the other thing in the world that I try to occupy. I know that purpose matters. It matters what we do and what we're doing it for. A lot of people say, I have purpose in my life, and they don't really know what they're talking about. The young people need to find that out. And we have such a freedom in America. You can do and be whatever you want. I have had the opportunity, because I was a soldier in Vietnam, wounded, to come home and go to the City University of New York. And they gave me the opportunity to get a bachelor's degree. I fell in love with the study. Then I took a master's degree at the same institution, the City University of New York. And then I took a law degree. They let me into law school. It's a class of 250 and thousands apply. They took me. Thank God for that. Are you kidding? I'm the only one in my family that even went to college. It's not that we're not smart, we're working class.
Yeah, it's a different, right. It wasn't.
Yeah, and I have a different go at it. I have a different, they gave me the opportunity. And then when I became an administrative law judge, the first thought was, I wish my mother were alive. It's for her.
Yeah.
You know, it was that way. So it's not like I'm a veteran who is licking his wounds. I'm a veteran who wants to stop every war that's not just. I'm going to protect my family. I'm going to protect you if anybody says anything ill. I'm going to protect what I believe in. I'm going to honor the greatness of what we are. I'm going to continue to adore the human condition. I want to love my children and grandchildren. I want to be graceful because somewhere they were graceful to me. They gave me the opportunity to be. And now what do we do? And so I serve veterans nationally who are incarcerated. And my platform for incarcerated veterans is post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury. And I purposely do not say PTSD, because the D part is disorder, which psychologists put onto our condition. We do not have a disorder. We're veterans who served with honor and who saw terrible and participated in terribly meaningful, significant horrors.
That's a very interesting distinction. That's a very interesting distinction that I never even put together. Dominick, I want to, because I have so many more questions, we're going to have to stop at some point, but.
Why?
Well, we don't, but my editor will cut us in half.
Yeah. I tease you.
Yeah.
I feel, excuse me, feel
yeah.
comfortable enough to.
So with post-traumatic stress, that what you dealt with and how you responded, and here we are, fast forward. May I share your age?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
You're in your late 70s, right?
I just turned 77. My birthday is June 21st.
Congratulations.
Born in 1947. Yeah.
So you're 77. So that was almost 60 years ago that we're talking about. And what is it, or in your research and the people you've surrounded yourself with, first of all, your attitude of where you are and your gratitude is beyond words to me. I think every human being should strive to be Dominick Yezzo and
Oh,
have that
stop. God bless
attitude
you.
of all these years later.
Mhm.
We all have regrets. We all have things we're pissed about. We all have things we wish were different. But you're surging forward and you're living your life in a way that is so admirable that even though you're carrying this around, you found the time to share, to be grateful, to thank your teachers and to thank your college and your law school for having you is just beyond. So, post traumatic stress can happen from one incident. How is that something that I don't want to say goes away? I don't think it ever goes away because it molds you. How do you think you coped with it compared to why other people haven't, if that question makes sense to you? What's the difference where people who've had post-traumatic stress and cannot function? I'm not going to say get over it because I understand post-traumatic stress. There's no getting over. It's a part of you that will never go away. But what makes the difference in someone who can go on? You mentioned in your book, which I love, the best advice you ever got in your life was when you came home, your mother said, take a shower, shave, get out in the world, go get a job, and go on with your life.
And
Not to
what
do
she actually
it.
said was simpler than that. She said, wash your face, comb your
Mhm.
hair, go to work.
Okay.
Those are her words.
Okay.
Right. Um, so post-traumatic stress, the Vietnam veterans made it a household word.
Mhm.
Everybody has post-traumatic stress. People who have car accidents claim it in their claims in court, right? For compensation. You have to understand it, and it's not something that I coped with. It's actually something I cope with
Okay.
every
Hmm.
day. Everybody who knows this knows it. Uh, if you don't, you think of it as an outsider who thinks that we have to get you over this.
Mhm.
You don't, this is not something that can be resolved. It's something that remains open, and you have to learn, as you do with other kinds of hardships in the center of your gut. You have to learn to handle this. You have to learn what it means to you and how you do not let it interfere with how you love others or how you receive what others are giving or how you focus on the world. I'm not a victim at all. Post-traumatic stress is different for everyone. To give you an example, um, it never goes away. So if you, supposing you were on patrol and you're walking with your unit and everybody's in line and nothing happens for 10 days, which is could be 2 weeks, nothing, just humping your pack. It's crazy. What are we doing this for? Like, and you're exchanging cigarettes with your buddies and you're talking trash with them, blah blah blah, and then suddenly, boom, Tony goes down. He gets hit in the chest, out. We do what we do. We call in a Medevac for him, and then we find out where the round came from, and we blow that up. We blow it to pieces. Easy. Hardship because our guy got hit, right? And then you approach that rubble in that building, which is like the size of like a garage, and you see that there's a person there, guy with hanging over the window with a gun around him, who's dripping blood, and another guy near him with an ammo belt on him. Out, they're destroyed. The building is destroyed, but in the corner in the rubble, there's the bony arm of a baby. Now that arm, that thing never ever goes away. That thought, like, what's that? What's that? What happened? What? Why? Why? So, and then what did I do? And then what? Of course, I had to protect Tony, right? Of course. But then, 5 years later, you're at a barbecue and a baby is eating a hamburger, and you see the arm, and you're in trouble, and nobody knows it. So you retreat, you get quiet. Who wants to hear it now? Nobody here that gets me. That's post-traumatic stress. And think about the millions of concrete specific instances that cause post-traumatic stress to warriors. Now, traumatic brain injury is easier to decide about. It's medical. The frontal lobe of your brain is a mess. It's changed. This you can overcome. Medically, you can overcome it. And it causes an inability to reason. So a lot of soldiers come home, no support. They're back on the block they came from. This is a sergeant with 2 tours of duty, a walk through a wall, wounded once, a purposeful Marine. Back on the block that he came from, Harlem, the south side of Chicago, whatever, some place in Mississippi, who knows? No job, the party's over, everybody goes back to what they do, and you're left alone there with all of that post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury from the repeated rounds of a gun or from everything heinous that happened to you that maybe you didn't get wounded, but you were close enough to. And you have all of these silent conditions and nobody gets it. So 13% of combat veterans struggle with PTS and TBI, post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury. And this causes you to make a failure in decision. So somebody pushes on you, asks you for your license, say, get out of here, take a walk. Or somebody says something about anything in a bar, you've had 3 drinks, you're ready to go. You're done. And then you resist arrest. Worse. Maybe you do something so violent that you're doing 25 to life. So there's 181,000 veterans in prisons in the United States of America now, right now. 181 is conservative. Most of them, I shouldn't say that. I don't know that for a fact. A lot of them are doing 25 to life, and they're from my generation.
That's what I was going to ask you. What percentage is the Vietnam War generation?
A lot.
Wow.
I don't have I don't know because you keep getting new veterans in jail.
Right.
So I don't know what's going on in Oregon or in Maine, but there's always new veterans in, so the stat changes. The statistic is different.
Can you get them out? Is there any way at this point, at this stage of their lives, they're men in their 70s, like what are they doing in prison still? What is the
if you heard the crimes they committed, you'd say why they're in prison.
Okay.
And it's the irony is you help them because I don't leave anybody behind. And those are guys served well, and they had remarkable military records. They committed this afterwards, but they still committed the crime. I don't know how to fix that. I'm legal minded, and I still don't know how to. I can't fix that, so I have to live with that. But I'm not letting that guy go. I'm not forgetting that person. And they're in jail, and they're sentenced for sometimes appropriately.
That's very sad. That's so sad.
It's so sad. It's unspeakable.
Now, this is really a tangent, but another curiosity I have is they're in prison. Is there resources in the prison, or do they have a camaraderie with other vets in the prison, or they're just as alone there as they were out?
You are so center. Like you see the iceberg tip, you get the whole bottom of that. That's what I do. So here's what you do. Like the modern sociological master's degree goody two-shoes that wants to help people who are incarcerated gives them opportunities to do this, that, or the other thing. When I get invited to a prison, I want to see the veterans that are there only, right? And I want to talk to them. I want to look at them and I want to tell them I came here to visit you. Happy Thanksgiving or happy Christmas or whatever, right? And then I ask the warden to put them in a separate ward. They stop the prison kind of attitude. They become soldiers again.
Hmm.
How to do that. They know how to work together. It's indelible, right? Now you got these prisoners in a separate ward. Then you go in and you say, uh, forget about what we can do for you. What are you going to do for your house? This is your unit. You live here, and this jail is in a community of good people. What are you going to do? I'll be back next year. Tell me what your plan is. If the warden gets it, it's a good thing because I have remarkable stories about what inmates have done who are veterans. Remarkable. It's stunning. They've made money for charity, which is it's significant and surprising all at once.
Yeah,
They've created such purpose in their lives inside the jail. And all of them are models and zero discipline. When you put veterans in a separate ward, that's it. There's no more discipline issues. They're done.
amazing, amazing. They go right back to the camaraderie,
Yeah, they got something to share.
their fellow person.
And that's black, white, tall, short,
Yep, yep.
Asian. It's doesn't matter. It's all soldiers.
Now, Dominic, I'm going to ask you to throw back to way back when and where you are today in this question. You know, you talked about your initial respect and caring for the Vietnamese people when you were there. And then you wrote that you became disenchanted. Could you kind of, in a nutshell, I don't think you can talk in a nutshell. I think you need to tell us everything, which is wonderful, and I want to hear about it.
Big nut.
You were there, you realized what was going on. Your attitude towards the Vietnamese people had to make a transformation. And then where are you today with that?
Certainly the Vietnamese people I respect them. You understand that they were fighting for their homes, that brother and sister were divided, North and South, the idea of it, and that the Viet Cong were guerrillas. They were like terrorists. They would go into villages and say, you can't side with the Americans. And so there was that, otherwise we'll shoot you, or we're going to take your daughter, or we're going to whatever. They did horrible things. They burned them out. So that confusion in that place, and here we arrive, right? But I respect the Vietnamese because of family. They're actually beautiful. They're beautiful people. They're very, very welcoming. I tried to learn Vietnamese while I was in Vietnam, and they accepted that even for trying. And so I got to see things that others wouldn't. And because I was in PSYOPs, civil affairs and psychological operations, I was out with them.
Mhm.
So part of my duty, outside of dropping leaflets over battle sites, and going out to pay reparations when somebody's water buffalo was shot, or when somebody's children got in a crossfire, was to be with them. And we'd bring doctors out from the United States, veterinarians, to inoculate their pigs. We were the Hearts and Minds Club.
Wow, wow.
So with a unit, we were fully armed and stacked, but I'd go out with a unit, maybe a major or a captain, PSYOPs, who spoke Vietnamese, and we'd have a Vietnamese scout. We called it Kit Carson Scouts, and that'd be our guy, and we'd go out, right, into the village or into the place, and try to show them what we can do, and show them pictures of what democracy looked like. It's funny pictures that we made up.
How
And
did
then
you trust where you were going, Dominic? That had
no,
a
I didn't. No,
other
I didn't trust
level
that
of
at all. I didn't trust that at all. Once
uh,
I was in a Jeep, we took fire, man. I trust that. Nothing. No, you don't. No, we were out. Out off the base.
right.
So barbed wire, barbed wire, barbed wire, barbed wire, and then us. Right? Ditch,
Do you still feel when you have memories, whether they're physical or emotional, or something that you see jars you, do you still feel the physical
yeah,
angst? Yeah.
Yeah, I still feel where I got wounded, and it's not, if any other part of me gets hit, uh, unexpectedly, he could punch me in my back real hard, and I think I was in the war. If it was unexpected, I wasn't ready for it. Yeah, there's a muscle memory. There's something in there. I don't know what it is, but it's cuckoo. I don't understand it, but yeah, that's still in there.
You're here, your efforts, your tireless efforts to continue to help is astounding. Now, if somebody wants to approach a Vietnam veteran to have him tell his or her story, what are the appropriate questions to ask to get somebody to open up?
Depends on who you're talking to. So you have a guy who likes motorcycles who lives in Alabama, or a guy who likes shiny suits and lives in Chicago. Um, it all depends on what their experience was. Remember, the military finds you and uses you. They got you. They know what you are. So it all depends. I don't think there's an abstract that we could assign, but let's think about that abstract for every soldier everywhere.
Mhm.
How do you approach any soldier with respect? How do you let them know that what they did, no matter how confusing, was valuable to you? That's what we want to know.
Has
How
it,
do,
yeah,
how do we help?
and has the openness now and the books that are written and the movies that have come out, has that made a dent in healing?
Yeah, of course, maybe, but we heal ourselves. Women healed us. We came home from Vietnam, and we were a mess. And the guys that put us there, they threw us in the fire, and then they cut the cord. They didn't want us. Women healed us, our mothers and our girlfriends, and people in the neighborhood said, Dominick is home and he's safe. Wow, I heard you got wounded. And they healed you. They there's a comfort that we could enjoy, um, because of that. And I don't. We're in a curious time to speak about the great aspects of femininity and
Mhm,
motherhood,
mhm.
and that kind of sovereign ownership of how to heal you. Like, men don't have that. I don't know. This, this. It's so, like, my mother was she said she cooked for me, and the first I was home a minute. The first morning I arrived, when Woodstock was on August 17th.
Interesting.
And my mother that morning, she was weeping, but the whole house was full of family and friends, and everyone, my buddies, everybody, right? And every cannoli in New York City was in my mother's kitchen. There's so many people that came to see me, but my mother knew I was lost.
Yeah.
And she made this great big breakfast for me in the morning. She woke me, and she cleaned out my duffel bag, and she read some of the things that I had been writing. She probably didn't sleep at all. And she got me and sat me at the kitchen table, just her and I. And she kind of didn't say it this way, but the question was, like, what do you want? What would you do? And I tried to answer. I said, Mom, something's not right. I don't know what I want to do. I think I want to read more and study more. And she took a long pause the way she did. My mother knew. She sensed you, like 100%. And that's when she said, Dominick, wash your face, comb your hair, and go to work. Now, I didn't get it then,
Mhm.
but soon after I got it. I got it. She knew. She knew that there was, and she said something else that was really, really important in that conversation. She cried and she said, the boy I gave them is not the man they sent back to me. And when I think about that, and now that I'm a father, uh, how do we do that? What would I do to my son, if he came back wounded from a war? What what do you do with that? How do you honor the confusion of being proud of him, and seeing that they changed him, that the life that he endured is not the life that you created for him. And that's, she was saying something like that to me.
Yeah.
And those remarkable that that it's sacred motherhood. It's sacred. It's you you can only know that. You can only know that. I still marvel when a new horse is born and the colt gets up and knows right where to go to
Yeah.
eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's stunning. It's like, how does a seed grow?
Yeah.
Like like I still think like a cloud is water, H2O. Like what? I'm in the pool splashing around and what? I'm still I'm still trying to figure those things out, you know.
Right. Wonderful. So the curiosity continues. It's fantastic.
And my mother knew I had that.
Yeah.
I had that. That
Dominic,
curiosity.
Dominic, separate from your work, your volunteering, what is your life like now?
Now I'm going to say you're in a place that I don't know. My life now is my work.
Mhm.
Um, I have there are several things personally that I do that matter to me, and everything I do has purpose. I teach at the State University of New York at Nassau Community College. I've been there for a long, long time. I'm a retired judge, which gives me a title, which is nobody speaks like this, but I do. The best thing about being a judge is the title. Um, the work was good. I prayed that I would do it well, but it was much easier than being a lawyer. I had a law practice for many, many years. I was a personal injury lawyer. You know, it was productive. Um, I had you know, my kids had whatever they wanted, and I know that because while I was a lawyer and I prospered and was busy, I learned something. And lawyers were making money, and I was a poor kid. And I learned that you never know what's enough until you know what is more than enough.
Mm.
And so, one of the things that hurt me as a lawyer was I went to law school to learn to serve in the public interest. I have a public interest law degree.
Okay.
5 years after I graduated from law school, the reasons I entered didn't even exist anymore. I didn't even know where they were. 15 years after that, I started to feel troubled or weighted. Like, what am I doing? What I have all of this grace that came from somewhere. It's divine. And here I am doing what? Like settling the next big case. So I merged with a significantly larger firm and exited the practice. And my reputation was good in the law, so they wanted the tail of my business. So it was
Mm-hmm.
easy to make this deal. And then I started to do public interest work. Teaching remains the most important thing I've ever done in my life. I serve now as the chair of a school board locally. My work with the Vietnam Veterans of America as the incarcerated chairperson is a national gig. It's enormous. It's bigger than me, um, and it's rewarding. It's powerful and painful, and not easy to do um, because I don't have access, and I'm a leader. And
Mm-hmm.
if
Mm-hmm.
you tell me no, I don't take it. I think no just means not now.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. If you tell me no, I'm looking right at you saying, I'm thinking to myself, not now is what you mean with me. Right. We'll talk later. Right. So I write a little bit. And I love my grandchildren very much and my son and daughter. I want to mention to you that my son, and I'm saving this for last. I didn't even know if I should say it. My son, who is a beautiful young man, he's a lawyer in New York, a very, very witty, smart, good-looking guy. Lawyer, suits in downtown Manhattan, that thing, in and out of wherever he wants to go. Suddenly was diagnosed with grade 4 brain cancer. last May. And so I took that on, and I made a vow to cure him. And so the purpose in my life has been the structure of priority has been shifted somewhat, and I'm interested in my son's direction, his health. And I took him in. His mother, for many reasons, is absent, but he's here, and I'm caring for him. He's got a big fight ahead of him. We're fighting it. We got a big fight. So medically, I'm all over the world. I'm looking for what is not codified in medicine, especially in cancer. Cancer is lonely. So that's a big part of my life, and it's something that God gave me, and I accept. We're not victims. I tell them that every day. We're not victims. We're going to get this. This is what is. This is what's here. So that's what I do. I wish that I would find that a love in my life, but that's perhaps not the moment for that now. But
Well, like everything else in your life, I mean, you're doing great things with your son. I think you're going to find everything you need, Dominick. I really do. I have full faith in that in you.
God bless you. Thank you.
You know, this is the most important question in my interviews, and I said this for last. What do you like? What do you like about getting older?
Oh, it's an easy question, but it's ironic. I love the wisdom. Wisdom is a certain and constant course. I'm sure of myself. I mean, I don't want to be arrogant. I'm not arrogant. I'm not. But I'm sure of what I think. I'm sure of what I do. I'm sure of what the matter is. I'm sure that I can't fix this. I'm sure that that there's beauty and that the world will become what it needs to. I'm sure that the generation of young people now, and I mean young between, say, like 15 and 35, they stand to achieve more than any other generation ever in the history of the human condition, of human persons on Earth. Their grandchildren are going to be on Mars.
Yeah.
I'm sure of that. And I love it. And I look at them, I'm proud of them. And I hope they know that. And I want them to pick their heads up off their phones and look up.
Yeah.
Look
Yeah.
up. Look as far and think further.
Yep.
You know, in 1986, they launched the Voyager. And that thing is still out there. And they launched that to pick up noises or sounds or extraterrestrial kinds of indications. And that thing is passing all of the solar system, and it's still going and sending signals back. That's when the space age was exciting. That's when it was purposeful.
You know, that's what I always say is, just to elaborate on that. You know, our generation, you even more than me, is you remember when television was a novel idea?
Yes, of course.
Right. I mean, and now look at us. I mean, you could watch movies on your phone. You can, the technology that we've seen in our lifetime is extraordinary. And I, like you, have so much faith in the future. I wish more people did. I don't like
it's only the beginning.
I don't like the doom and gloom that the world is going to come to an end due to technology, but I think it's moving in a very, very nice direction. Dominick, I can't thank you enough for being here. So thank you so much for joining me. It's been a great conversation of great importance, and so wonderful to get to know you. And we are going to have you back to talk about the state of caretaking. Very, very important subject that, we need to spend some time. And I want to thank all of you who are listening. I'm Patricia Greenberg, and for more shows on aging well, please subscribe to this channel. And for more information, feedback, and topic ideas, contact me at www.patriciagreenberg.com. Dominick, stay well, stay safe. I wish you many years of health and happiness, and I look forward to having you back.
Thank you so much. You communicate sincerity, and you have profound intelligence.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you again.
God bless you.